Ravi sat alone in the dimly lit study, his fingers tracing the mahogany edges of the desk that had become both his command center and his cage. The walls, lined with accolades and achievements a testament to his business acumen, seemed to close in on him as the evening sun cast long shadows across the room. He was draped in the trappings of success, a tailored suit that spoke of power, a silk tie that hinted at prestige, and cufflinks that glinted like small declarations of victory. Yet beneath the crisp lines and sharp angles of his attire, there lay an unspoken yearning, a quiet turmoil that bespoke of a fulfillment not yet attained. As Ravi's gaze shifted from his latest financial report to the window, where the world seemed to move on without him, he found himself adrift in a sea of memories. They took him back to a time when he was just a child, sneaking into his mother's closet, a sanctuary of forbidden wonder. His heart raced as he recalled the rustle of silk saris, each one a cascade of vibrant colors and intricate patterns. In secret, he would let the fabric spill over his small shoulders, feeling its smooth caress against his skin, the cool touch igniting a sense of completeness that he couldn't understand but desperately craved. He remembered the weight of bangles as they slid onto his wrists, the clinking sound they made with each movement, like a secret melody only he could hear. The softness of the pashmina shawls wrapped around him, the way they whispered promises of a hidden world where he could be anyone, feel anything. It was in these stolen moments, clad in his mother's clothes, that Ravi first tasted the heady elixir of femininity, a flavor that lingered long after the fabrics were folded away and the bangles removed. The memory was vivid, tactile. Even now, he could almost feel the delicate pressure of gold-threaded borders against his fingertips, the sari's heavy pallu draped over his arm. The air in the study seemed to grow warmer, thicker, as if charged with the electricity of those clandestine explorations. Ravi's successful businessman persona appeared like an ill-fitting garment compared to the freedom and authenticity he experienced within the soft folds of his childhood adventures. Lost in the sensory flood of nostalgia, Ravi's breath hitched slightly, his chest constricted by the fine wool of his jacket, a modern armor that now felt more oppressive than protective. His longing for the liberation once found in the silken embrace of saris was a silent whisper echoing through the chambers of his heart, a whisper that grew louder with each passing day, urging him to seek the truth of who he was beneath the polished veneer of societal expectations. Ravi stood up abruptly, the leather of his executive chair groaning in protest. He paced before the towering shelves of business tomes and accolades, each step a metronome ticking against the silent symphony of his turmoil. His fingers grazed the spines of books extolling leadership and power, yet they brought him no comfort, for within their pages lay none of the answers he so desperately sought. The battle within him waged fiercely, a relentless tug-of-war between the man the world saw a titan of industry, a paragon of masculinity, and the softer, hidden self that yearned to break free from its carefully constructed cage. In the quiet of his study, away from the eyes of judgment and expectation, Ravi could almost hear the rustle of silk and the tinkle of bangles, as if his secret desires whispered from the shadows, beckoning him toward an unfamiliar but alluring horizon. Enough, he murmured to himself, the word falling like a verdict in the solitude of his sanctuary. The weight of societal expectations hung heavy on his broad shoulders, tailored suit and tie feeling more like chains than symbols of success. Yet, beneath the crisp lines and starched fabric of his attire, there pulsed a heart that thrummed with the need for authenticity, for the soft embrace of chiffon and the sweet clasp of a delicate anklet around his ankle. Taking a deep breath, Ravi approached the mirror that crowned the mahogany bureau. The reflection staring back at him was one of impeccable grooming, hair slicked back, jaw set firm, the very image of corporate dominance. But behind the confident gaze, there flickered a vulnerability, a softness that no amount of designer cologne could mask. "Rashmi deserves to know," he said to his reflection, the words barely above a whisper. The mere thought of confessing his truth to her sent tremors through his frame, his heart a captive bird fluttering against the cage of his ribs. He imagined Rashmi's face, open and loving, her eyes always hinting at a depth of understanding that went beyond words. Could she comprehend this? Accept this part of him that even he struggled to fully grasp? With a resolve that seemed to drain the color from his cheeks, Ravi picked up the phone and dialed her number, each beep echoing the frantic beat of his heart. As he waited for her to answer, he smoothed down the lapels of his jacket, an automatic gesture that now felt poignantly symbolic, as if he were straightening out the creases of his life, bracing for change. "Hello?" Rashmi's voice was a lifeline thrown across the tumultuous sea of his emotions. "Rashmi," Ravi started, his voice catching slightly, betraying the nervous energy churning inside him. "There's something I need to tell you. Something important about me." On the other end of the line, there was a pause, a heartbeat, a breath, a moment suspended in time where Ravi's future hung delicately in the balance. "Can we meet?" he asked, the words a plea for a chance to be seen, truly seen, by the woman he loved. "I need to show you who I really am." His admission was out in the open now, carried across the wires, a confession cloaked in the safety of distance but no less daunting. Ravi held his breath, waiting for the response that would seal his fate, his every hope and fear tangled in the anticipation of her words. Ravi stood before Rashmi, the room around them blurring into insignificance. His suit, once a symbol of his corporate stature, felt like an ill-fitting costume now. The silk lining of his jacket whispered against his skin as he shifted uneasily, the tailored trousers a shade too constrictive, a noose of masculinity that he had tightened around himself over the years. "Rashmi," he began, his voice barely above a whisper, "I've been living with a facade." He paused, searching her face for any sign of judgment. Finding none, he continued, his fingers tracing the hem of his cufflinks, a poor substitute for the bangles he yearned to wear. "Ever since I was young, I've found solace, an inexplicable comfort in." Ravi's throat constricted, his words faltering like the last leaves of autumn hesitating to fall. "Crossdressing," he finally exhaled the truth, his secret unfurling between them like delicate lingerie from a clandestine drawer. "And not just that, Rashmi. There's this desire within me, a need to submit, to embrace a role society wouldn't readily accept from someone like me." Ravi watched Rashmi closely, her eyes widening ever so slightly as she processed his confession. She remained silent, but her gaze never wavered from his, and it was in this quietude that Ravi saw the enormity of his revelation reflected back at him. "Ravi," Rashmi uttered his name like a touch, her voice laced with surprise but devoid of disdain. "You have always been the strongest person I know, managing your empire with such finesse. It must have taken immense courage to share this part of you with me." Ravi's heart hung suspended on her every word. Her acceptance was all he needed to shatter the final chains of his pretense. "Your happiness is what matters most to me, Ravi," Rashmi continued, her hand reaching out to gently rest upon his, a silent pledge of solidarity. "If this is who you are, I love you no less for it. I want you to be true to yourself, to be free." The room seemed to exhale around them, the tension seeping away, leaving in its wake a fragile sense of hope. Ravi's attire, once a testament to his success, now felt like a chrysalis ready to shed, yearning for the metamorphosis that would reveal his true self, one that had been veiled by the threads of an expected image. "Thank you," Ravi breathed out, the weight of unspoken years lifting off his shoulders. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one where he could finally stop performing and start living. Rashmi's gaze held a spark of something new, an ember of excitement that danced in her eyes as she considered the man before her. Ravi, still reeling from the vulnerability of his confession, watched her closely, searching for any sign of retreat. But Rashmi was not one to shy away from the unconventional. She thrived on understanding and empowering those she loved. "Ravi," she began, her voice imbued with a strength that seemed to reach out and embolden him, "this is a part of you that deserves to be explored, not hidden away. I want to see you flourish in your truth, to embrace every facet of who you are." Her words were like balm to Ravi's long-tormented soul, soothing years of self-imposed solitude within his own mind. She offered him more than acceptance, she offered him encouragement and a path forward. Imagine, Rashmi continued, her hand gesturing towards the vastness of their home, this space being a sanctuary for your self-discovery. Here, you can express yourself without fear. The concept took root in Ravi's heart, spreading warmth through his veins. He could picture it, the freedom to simply be, without the masks he had worn for so long. Let's set some guidelines, Rashmi proposed, her tone shifting to one of gentle authority that sent an unfamiliar, yet thrilling shiver down Ravi's spine. When you're here, at home, I want you to fully immerse yourself in your desires. Dress as you feel compelled, in full housewife attire. And yes, she added, a playful glint in her eye, that includes wearing jewelry and makeup. It will be a symbol of your commitment to this journey. Ravi's breath hitched at the mention, the reality of his submission and the tangible representation of his surrender to Rashmi's nurturing control caused his heart to flutter in anticipation. Furthermore, Rashmi pronounced, standing now with an air of regal command, you will address me as G within these walls. It will remind us both of the dynamic we are building together. G, Ravi echoed, the title foreign on his tongue but resonating deeply within him. It was more than an acknowledgement of her role, it was an affirmation of his own evolving identity. Good. Rashmi smiled, her approval washing over him like a wave of encouragement. Now, let's begin by finding you the perfect attire. She guided him upstairs to their bedroom, where she opened the doors of the large walk-in closet. Ravi's eyes widened at the array of fabrics and colors, a canvas awaiting the touch of an artist. Rashmi reached for a sari, its silk caressing her fingers, the vibrant hues a stark contrast to the drab masculinity of Ravi's business suits. The fabric whispered promises of liberation as she unfolded it, revealing intricate patterns woven into its length. Feel it, Ravi, Rashmi urged, offering the soft material to him. He ran his hands over the delicate embroidery, the texture sending a thrill through his body. Each thread told a story of tradition, of beauty, of a life he had yearned to experience openly. Beautiful, isn't it? Rashmi's voice was soft, almost reverent. This will be the first step in adorning your true self. With each layer of clothing, each clasp of a bracelet, and each brush of makeup, Ravi shed his former shell. Rashmi's keen eye for detail and her steady, supportive presence guided him through the transformation. The chiffon pallu draped gracefully over his shoulder, the pleats of the skirt hugging his form in a way that felt both alien and achingly correct. Look at you, Rashmi whispered, pride evident in her tone as they stood before the mirror, Ravi's reflection no longer a stranger. You're exquisite. And he was transformed not just in appearance but in essence. Outfitted in the symbols of femininity, Ravi found a harmony within himself that resonated with the deepest parts of his being. Rashmi's rules, once a daunting prospect, now framed his world in a comforting structure that allowed him to explore his feminization with abandon. Her guidance was a gift, one that he accepted with a submissive heart and an eager spirit. Ravi's fingers trembled as they hovered over the silk blouse, a whisper of hesitancy in their touch. The fabric was cool and smooth, a stark contrast to the warmth bubbling in his chest, a concoction of trepidation and desire. Rashmi watched him with eyes that were oceans of understanding, yet he couldn't help but feel the tightrope beneath his feet, swaying between his need to please her and the abyss of his own insecurities. Is something wrong? Rashmi's voice cut through his internal cacophony, gentle yet laced with an authority that beckoned him to honesty. No, it's just. Ravi began, words faltering as he grasped for articulation. Your rules, they ask for so much, and I fear if I can be all that you envision. Ravi, she said, stepping closer, her presence a calming balm. It's not about what I envision, but what you feel inside. Remember, this journey is yours, and I am merely here to support you. Her reassurance was a lifeline, and with a deep breath, he reached for the blouse once more. The hesitation was still there, but it was slowly being overpowered by a yearning too strong to ignore. As he slipped his arms through the sleeves, fastening the delicate pearl buttons one by one, there was a blooming realization that these garments were not just pieces of cloth but extensions of his true self. The sari came next, yards of emerald green satin that glided through his fingers like liquid. He wrapped it around his waist, the pleats aligning with a precision learned from watching Rashmi, each fold a step deeper into the role he craved to fill. The palette draped over his shoulder with an elegant finality, a symbolic mantle that seemed to settle his doubts and fears under its luxurious weight. Exquisite indeed, Rashmi murmured, adjusting a stray pleat with deft fingers. Her eyes sparkled with pride and something more an ember of excitement at the blossoming of Ravi's femininity, now unfurling before her. He could feel the softness of the satin against his skin, each caress igniting a sense of fulfillment that grew with every movement. The koli clung to his torso, its intricate embroidery of golden threads dancing in the light, a testament to the craftsmanship that honored tradition and celebrated the contours of his transformed figure. With the addition of accessories, the transformation was complete. Bangles clinked melodically around his wrists, their music a sweet reminder of his childhood fascinations. The anklets whispered secrets with every step, tales of submission and strength interwoven like the delicate chains encircling his ankles. "Gee," he said, the title rolling off his tongue with a reverence that felt both alien and perfect. It sealed his commitment to the rules, to Rashmi, and to the exploration of his deepest desires. With each syllable, the last vestiges of hesitation dissipated, leaving behind only the clarity of purpose and the soft embrace of the sari that adorned his form. "Beautiful," Rashmi repeated, though this time it was clear the word encompassed more than just the attire. It was an affirmation of Ravi's courage, his journey, and the love that allowed him to bloom unabashedly into his most authentic self. Ravi swept through the house with a fluidity that belied his former rigidity as a corporate tycoon. He glided from room to room, each step a practiced ballet of service and obedience. The silken sari caressed his skin, whispering secrets of a life he had once only dared to dream. It billowed around him, the palla draped elegantly over his shoulder, its end trailing behind him like the train of a regal gown. "Bring me my evening tea, dear," Rashmi called from the living room, her voice carrying an edge of command softened by affection. "Right away, G," Ravi responded, his words laced with an eagerness to please. No longer was there a tremor of uncertainty in his voice. Instead, it was imbued with the tranquil acceptance of his new role. His hands, adorned with slender bangles that shimmered with delicate filigree designs, prepared the tea with ritualistic care. He poured the steaming liquid into a fine china cup, the floral aroma mingling with the scent of jasmine from his hair. "Here you are, G," Ravi said, presenting the tea with a bow of his head, the gold jhumka earrings swaying gently with the motion. "Thank you, my dear." Rashmi smiled, taking the cup. Her eyes traced the contours of his figure, now enveloped in the soft embrace of chiffon and silk. The blouse hugged his form, accentuating the gentle curves he had come to cherish, its sheer sleeves fluttering like the wings of a butterfly with each gesture he made. As Rashmi sipped her tea, Ravi turned to his laptop, opened on the dining table amidst a colorful array of spices and vegetables awaiting preparation for dinner. His fingers, tipped with nails painted a subtle rose pink, danced across the keys with efficiency. He toggled between spreadsheets and documents, his mind adeptly partitioning attention between the demands of his business and the recipes he planned to follow. "Have you sent the proposal to Mr. Kapoor?" Rashmi inquired without looking up from her book. "Already done, G," Ravi replied without missing a beat, his tone steady even as his heart swelled with pride at fulfilling both his professional obligations and the desires of his heart. He then tenderly began to chop the vegetables, the knife's rhythmic slicing a counterpoint to the click-clack of keystrokes that had just filled the air. The sun dipped lower, casting a golden hue through the windows. It bathed Ravi in a warm glow as he set about preparing the evening meal, the kitchen becoming his boardroom where every dish was a deal to be negotiated, every spice a decision to be weighed. Yet, even as he strategized the flavors, his movements were not those of the assertive businessman who commanded boardrooms but of a graceful figure fully immersed in loving service. "Gee, should I prepare the rotis now or wait until you're ready to dine?" Ravi asked, seeking direction with the humility of one who had found contentment in submission. "Wait a while, love. Let's enjoy the sunset together," Rashmi suggested, setting aside her book with a contented sigh. Ravi joined her, settling at her feet with a reverence that softly echoed through the chambers of his heart. Together, they watched the day's light fade to twilight, the blending of his dual worlds, the sharp acumen of a businessman and the tender devotion of a submissive partner finding harmony in the quietude of their shared existence. Ravi knelt before Rashmi, his hands tenderly slipping her feet into the delicate straps of her sandals. His fingers grazed her skin with such care and affection that each touch seemed to whisper his devotion. Clad in an ornate lehenga choli, the fabric caressed his frame, a cascade of soft silks and satins adorned with intricate embroidery that danced in the light with every subtle movement he made. The blouse hugged his body, its sheer back revealing the gentle curve of his spine, while the skirt flowed around him like a garden of flowers in perpetual bloom. "Perfect, as always," Rashmi praised, her voice wrapping around him like a warm embrace. Ravi's heart swelled with pride, his cheeks flushed with a rosy hue that rivaled the delicate blush of his sari. His lips curved into the sweetest of smiles, eyes sparkling with the clear joy of his fulfillment. The bangles on his wrists chimed melodiously as he moved, a symphony of his contentment that resonated through the room. "Thank you, G," he replied, his words dipped in the honey of happiness. He rose to his feet, the chiffon dupatta draped over his shoulder swaying gently, its golden trim catching the light with an almost magical glimmer. Later, as he tidied their home, each sweep of the broom was a stroke of his dedication, each fluff of the cushions a testament to his eagerness to please. His attire billowed around him, a sensual dance of fabric and form, the lehenga's hem brushing against his ankles in a tender caress. It was more than clothing, it was an embrace, a cherished expression of his innermost desires made manifest. When dusk descended, Ravi found himself alone for a moment, the solitude offering a chance to reflect. He gazed at his reflection in the tall, ornate mirror, seeing not the stern businessman of years past, but a figure of grace and surrender. His intricate attire, which once might have felt like a costume, now seemed like a second skin, a truthful representation of his essence. The realization that Rashmi had not only accepted but encouraged this transformation filled him with gratitude. She had opened the doors to a part of him that he had thought to be forever hidden in shadow. Now, standing in the soft glow of evening, he marveled at how the light of her love had illuminated his true colors. "Every step I've taken in these swirling skirts, every demure glance, every submissive gesture, they have led me to a freedom I never knew existed," he mused, his voice barely above a whisper. His heart sang with liberation, a crescendo of emotion that left no room for doubt or fear. "Rashmi ji has given me the greatest gift, the gift of self-acceptance," Ravi reflected with a serene smile. He was ready to turn the page, to start the next chapter of his life with the woman who had become his beacon, his guide to unfettered authenticity.